Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, hey, kids and cubs, welcome to Friday Morning Live. I'll bring in Mr. Beaver in just a second. I just wanted to share some photos from the opening night of the play that he is appearing in. A couple photos. This is a high-quality, high-class production. Oh, sorry, this is the dress rehearsal. My apologies. This is from last night's dress rehearsal, so you can see the lighting, the production quality, the costumes, they're all very, very top-notch. This is actually like a serious professional full-run theater, right? So you can see that this is, they ain't kidding around here. So let me bring Mr. Beaver in. I got a special treat for you. Oh, you're going to love this. Trust me when I say this. Let the chat bots, let the chatting begin. Here we go. Mr. Beaver, welcome to the show.
Eh bien, bonjour et good morning, kitties. This is season number 3 and episode number 200 and let's say 28 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Ouais. Ah oui, today, ah oui, c'est ça. Today, the recording day is Friday the 13th. Ooh. 2023. And it looks like it is going to be a beautiful day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the French Eager Beaver. Huh? Pronouns, lui, il, et bonjour, Monsieur Beaver. Beaver suave. En effet, mes amis. En effet, mes amis. Oh my God, is Mr. Beaver the Bad Hat? We actually have a song called The Bad Hat in the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yes, welcome to the Eager Beaver Show. Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful day here at the Beaver Lodge. And as with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. We have a Friday morning bite for you. Not a bite. Yeah, a full bite. Yeah, Friday morning full bite. It's not a nibble today. As you can see, my eyebrows and my facial hair is a little darker. Not because I just fermented, but I actually have like this powder eyeliner rather than trying to do it with a pencil. So it's just a brush and it's just much easier because the pencil is just like, ugh. So you just do it under. But then you because the eyebrows in a big scene, in a big theater, you want people to see your eyes. So you make your eyebrows bigger than they are, because my eyebrows usually stop down here and then I put them down there. And then most of my mustache is white, so I use that powder on it. But I was like with the wipes yesterday, just trying to get all the makeup off, and it stayed dark. So,
Well, sticking with the theater, this is playing at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa right now.
oh yeah, Bear Grease.
Yes,
I heard about that.
My friend Jennifer went to see it last night, and she asked me if I was going. I didn't even know anything about it. She goes, "Weren't you talking about it?" I'm like, "No, I was talking about Grease that we watched on television." But she goes, "No, Bear Grease. It's an Indigenous spin on the classic." She said it was so well done, and this is coming from someone who hates musicals. So,
Wow.
if you're in the Ottawa environs this weekend, maybe run down to the NAC and check out Bear Grease. I'm off to Toronto tomorrow morning, so I don't know if I'll have a chance to take it in this weekend at all. Maybe Sunday evening. We'll see. I don't know. I got a lot on the go over the next 48 hours. So.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, me too. So yeah, and as you can see, some of the guy liner is still there. I didn't manage to get it all off. But yeah, it's Kid Saucy won't lie. When I tuned in, the shadows on your mustache made you look like a certain dictator. Oh God,
Well,
James is really gonna.
Yeah. He's gonna have a field day whenever he sees this. Sodom.
He already thinks that I'm a Saddam Hussein impersonator.
No, I said Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein.
Right? Come on. That's straight across the plate.
It literally is sitting there.
Yes. And it was straight across the plate with a curveball because it can't be too straight, right? It can't be.
You're learning. I love it. Oh my God. You have to, this makes me so happy. Kids at home, you have to understand, back in the days when I was a wee galing, 16, 17, 18, I would have loved to have had like, trust me, this man is hopelessly heterosexual. There's no chance.
Sorry, I hate to disappoint.
No chance. So to have a straight friend with whom I could make gay jokes and who would make gay jokes back with me, and then I could make straight jokes with him, razz him, and he'd get just completely
the back and forth,
right? The back and forth, but like not be weirded out and be willing to make one to go there.
Well,
right? And it's like, yes, finally.
It's one of those things that like a lot of straight guys do to one another. Like, instead of saying, "Hey, I love you, man," it's like, "Hey, go." You know what I mean? It's like always trying to one up one another in the vulgarities on what one should do to one's mother or something like that.
Or when somebody just leaves it open and it's like, oh,
yeah. Exactly. It's like a guy thing, but this is a straight guy and a gay guy thing. So and I think it's an extra layer of humor because.
Well, that's the thing. And the thing is that you miss out on that.
Like, you didn't get to go through that. Yeah.
No, I mean, I have it like with my my gay friends. Like this was like, oh yeah, and we have our own version of that. But I mean, it's just like, oh my God, he's like, yes, I finally went to the boys. And that's the one thing about this network too. It's like, because it happens with Dean and it happens with James and it just happens with everybody. It happened with Ryan too. It's just those little boom booms. Oh God, it's so nice to finally be one of the guys.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah. All right.
I got some data for you though here quickly. I just a quick hit. Yes. So you know how like yesterday I was reading on I was on going through a YouTube metrics and stuff, and it sends me hints. Take a look at this. And I got one from a person that I've been following for a little while. She says, "This is the reason I'm leaving Canada. It's broken." And I watched a couple of minutes of the video, and I went, "No, whatever." And all these Canadians chiming in, "You're absolutely right. It's broken. It's this. It's that." And they went on and 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 on. All Reform Party aficionados who hate this country and hate everyone in it. And I said, look, if that's the case, why is it the number one destination for people to want to move and live to and work in and blah, 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 blah. And here's how I'm going to back up some of that data. This is, according to Google searches, the most popular countries to immigrate to. Let's go down here. Around a third of the world is interested in working in Canada. The top search in 56 out of 164 countries. The next closest is Germany with 13. But Canada's broken, right? Nobody wants to come here. The United States has, well, here's funny. Canada, we know who those people are. Germany, Haiti, Israel, and then Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States. It's not a state, but it's a protectorate. If you're born in Puerto Rico,
Mhm.
you're a U.S. citizen.
Right.
And then Taiwan. Now, I don't know what the asterisk is for because it doesn't give me that data, but Taiwan, which is an independent, but it's China, but a whole
It's
complication there.
complicated. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, look at all these countries that want to come to Canada. Afghanistan, Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Bangladesh, Belize, Burundi, Cameroon, Chile, Colombia, Congo, DR, Costa Rica, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominica, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Ethiopia, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Guatemala, Guyana, Honduras, India, Jamaica, Kenya, Kuwait, Madagascar, Malawi, Maldives, Mauritius, Mexico, Morocco, Nepal, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Panama, Philippines, Senegal, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Singapore, Somalia, South Africa, South Korea, Tanzania, Togo, Trinidad and Tobago, Tunisia, Uganda, USA, Venezuela, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Basically, 56 countries around the world that people live in that want to come to Canada for. But, Canada's broken, right?
Yep. As Kossi mentions here, the people who say Canada is broken and the people who don't like multiculturalism are usually in the same part of the Venn diagram. Yeah, I think that's what they think is broken.
Yeah.
Letting
Yes.
too many of those, whatever word they use to describe them this week, in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Voilà.
All right, kids. I'm excited. I'm excited for opening night. We definitely do have a show. So, a couple of kids. We have this thing called a scrim, which is sort of like, if you sometimes have those blinds that let like a certain amount of light in. So it's one of those scrims. It's like that. So it comes ahead and it creates sort of like this. For example, like if you have a scene, for example, where somebody had died and their ghost sort of comes back, you put them behind a scrim with a little fog and it sort of looks like they're in another world a little bit. It's a really cool effect. But that thing has a metal bar on the bottom because when it lands so that it stays and it doesn't sway. And that bar is a little heavy and a scrim comes down fast. So twice yesterday, we almost had people taken out because
Wow.
you tell people, it's like, see that line there? Don't pass that line. And then a scene ends and then people disperse and then people cross the line of the scrim. And rather than going towards the wings, because there are so many people on the stage, sometimes we're over 20 on the big group scenes, like this, the script comes out and you're like, we're yesterday at the dress rehearsal, we're like, just like yelling, it's like, So, it seems that as well as acting in the show, might be on scrim duty, standing by the wings. It's like,
Okay. Good to know.
because the last thing the story is about the 12 girls. So if one of the 12 girls gets taken out by the scrim during the show, then suddenly the show changes.
Well, that would be a change for sure.
Oh, the morning pour. There it is. All right, and we're gonna need some coffee today because there is stuff, my friends. There's stuff.
Oh God, there's so much stuff.
So much stuff.
I don't know if you saw the headline. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I'll just relay it to you. I saw a headline earlier. Israel warned Gaza to basically evacuate.
Where?
Where are they going to go? There's 2 million people there. Where are they going?
And the
We need to
Rafah,
evacuate.
and they can't go through the Rafah border into Egypt because that too is being bombed by the Israelis.
So are we
Well, not bombed,
about
but,
to?
not bombed, but I'm sorry, maybe not bombed, but like observed or surveyed or monitored or something.
Is there? I'm posing this genuine question. I'm genuinely asking this. Are we on the verge of genocide?
It could be. It could
Are we
be.
about to witness that? Is this
Well,
like?
Okay, well, yeah, we'll see. Okay, according to my notes, what I have here, international efforts to try to get aid into people in and out to people out of Gaza by the border crossings. Leaves only Egypt as an option, but that country's foreign minister says the Rafah border crossing is now not officially closed, but Israeli airstrikes prevent them from operating. So there are airstrikes being caused there. Egyptian and American officials are trying to convince Israel to allow fuel and other goods to pass through the border through Egypt. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who got to Israel yesterday and is leading America's response, says that it's a priority for the U.S. to try and get that border open somehow to allow people out. He arrived in Israel along with some hostage experts in the hope to be able to rescue some captives. But when you're asking about specifically the whether or not you're going to see something terrible, I think we are, and I think that your fear of that is not unfounded, because the prime minister, specifically when he was talking about it yesterday, he was, mentioning once again how Israel definitely does have the right to defend itself and all such things. But a lot of people maybe didn't catch it, but in the sentence he said in accordance with international law.
Right.
So, I mean, Israel has a right to defend itself in accordance with international law, and it continues. So it just sounds like a normal statement, but making the point of adding in accordance with international law is, I think, the point we made the other day when they went to the Solidarity event, and it gave such full-throated support for Israel that sounded totally and completely unconditional on the same day that the defense minister Yoav Gallant talked about the people there as human animals. And we all know that when you start as a government referring to other people in terms of animals or insects,
it's dehumanizing. Yeah.
Well, and then usually dehumanizing things follow. So there is that point, and the United States as well made a point as well to focus on the fact that, well, they don't want war crimes like they just.
Of course
not.
The ones they committed, you mean?
Yeah. Anthony Blinken was, we know Hamas doesn't represent the Palestinian people or their legitimate aspirations to live with equal measures of security, freedom, justice, opportunity, and dignity. And basically, and it's coming from everywhere. So Blinken was suggesting that the U.S. is echoing international calls for Israel to follow international law and avoid harming innocent civilians. Quote, in the days ahead, as all signs point to a likely ground incursion, the Prime Minister and I discussed how Israel does this matters. We democracies distinguish ourselves from terrorists by striving for a different standard. So this is already on the record.
So this is
the U.S.
This is what Dr. Yara Hawari released at 5 a.m. today. 5:03 a.m. actually. The Israeli regime has notified the UN that 1.1 million Palestinians have less than 20 hours to evacuate the northern part of Gaza. So many roads have been destroyed and most don't have vehicles. They know that this is impossible. This is ethnic cleansing and the world knows it. This is her words. I honestly...
That warning only matters if the people, because there's the only other places that they can evacuate to are also within Palestine.
Yes.
So if Israel is saying that they're going to bomb the living daylights out of the north, go south, they better not be bombing the living daylights out of the south at the same time, because then that's almost like kettling.
Oh, yes. And here's a map that Ree sent. See if I can put this on the screen. I guess everything north of the red line is what they're saying. You need to get out.
Yeah.
You can see that's a very small strip of land. That's why it's the most densely populated on Earth. It's just,
Yeah. But the fact that
That's the strip.
but the fact that Israel did that does mean that they're heeding a little bit of that call, that Netanyahu is
Mhm.
somewhat aware that he has a limit, even though he's talking the way that he's talking, and also that um, the concern, the extra additional complicating card here is the 150 hostages.
Mhm.
Not only because they're mostly Israeli, but there are some foreign nationals as well. And well, like when that airplane over Iran that was taken off Ukrainian Airlines flight exploded,
Mhm.
there was a lot of Canadians, but there were people from 40 different countries, right? That gets a lot of people involved in your business. So that may not be desirable at this moment. And there is um, dissatisfaction in Israel, given the monumental size of the intelligence failure. So, and given again, this is happening in a context of 10 months of consecutive protest. Um, Netanyahu is in an interesting situation where clearly he has the backing of his citizens in the sense that a lot of people are considering this an equivalent of 9/11 for Israel.
Mhm. Mhm.
When we're talking about over 1,000 people wiped out in one day
Yeah. It's similar. Yeah.
through an attack that nobody saw coming,
Mhm.
that escaped intelligence. So, if we all know, I know how I felt on 9/11, and
Mhm.
I'm in Canada, not even the United
Mhm.
States.
Yeah, it didn't happen to
It
us.
didn't happen to us, but there was a moment going, "Wow, World Trade Center, what's next? CN Tower?"
Yeah,
Y
yeah. No,
We didn't
it's
know
definitely felt
we
that.
didn't know if they were gonna start happening all around the world, if it was just there, other places in the United States. Was it just this? We didn't know at that point, right? There was a moment where all of the questions were there.
Well, and I'll give you a personal recollection of that time when the following weekend, I hopped on the train and went down to Toronto to see my sister, and it was about 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, or maybe it was Sunday morning. Yeah, it was Saturday morning because I went down on the Friday evening, and I woke up to the sound of a low-flying aircraft, a low-flying jet that went over the city very low, and it freaked the hell out of me because I jumped up and started looking because she lived in Riverdale, so there's the ravine, and then you can see all of downtown Toronto right there. So I jumped up and looked out the window, waiting to see a plane crash into a building. That's where my brain immediately went, and then of course social media at the time, which really wasn't the thing. It was blogs and text messaging and that sort of thing, because it was 2001. That is 23 years
Mhm.
ago, or 22 years ago. People were all over the web posting, "Oh my God, what just happened in Toronto?" It was just a low flying plane, is all it was. I
Mhm.
don't know what the reasoning was, but it was like 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, low flying plane. We all looked out the window to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's where our mind went, because that was the state of our
Mhm.
emotion at the
Yeah,
time,
just
right?
just tho those heightened emotions, and
Hmm.
extremely heightened, because that was like, I remember when the plane went into the first building and I thought, "Oh my god, what a horrible accident. What the hell went on? Did somebody have a heart attack at what happened?" And then you see the second
Yes,
plane.
and we all thought it was like a small plane,
Yeah,
like a small Cessna or
right.
something like that.
Like, I remember I was watching Canada at AM like this, and they were just ending a segment, like a lifestyle segment or something like that, and they were saying,
Mhm,
"Well, we'll come back after this commercial, tell you about that plane crash." And I'm like, "Plane crash?"
mhm.
Like this, and then there's this hole in the building, and you think, "Oh my god, that's so horrible." And then a couple of minutes later, you see the second one flying, and then that dread.
Boom.
It's like, but not before the boom. You just see it flying. You go, "Oh my god, that was not an accident."
Yeah, you saw it fly directly into the building, saw a massive explosion. That was not an accident.
And then when you realize the first one was not an accident, as you see the one
Mhm.
going, and like this, and you know it's gonna, like, it's like that slow motion track. You know it's gonna happen. You're thinking,
Well, when they got
"No,
the
no,
footage from
no,
the
no."
2 French filmmakers, right? The 2 French
Yeah,
filmmakers who were filming a rookie firefighter,
yeah,
and they showed the plane right over Manhattan directly into the building, and that was like a 737, I
yeah.
think, or 7 yeah, 737. It was like, "Oh, that that was not an accident. This is a terrorist attack. I remember that. I remember it like it was yesterday.
But that moment, you go from, oh my God, what a horrible accident, to,
oh my God, we're under attack.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
it was not an accident. That was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. Never forget that.
Yep. And there's like lots of things that happen in that moment. But that first one was like, what about us? What's next? Was like, if you have anybody thinking, because at that point you don't know who did it, but you're thinking of all the potential players.
Oh yeah, your mind just reels at that point.
Well, and I assume like if you're from that community, from those communities where this is a thing, if you're sitting there and you're going like, everybody around the world that came to the United States from places where there are terrorism incidents, we're wondering.
Yeah, we're no longer safe.
Well, number one, but we're wondering also who's going to be the scapegoat.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Yeah.
Is it the Muslims? Is it anything else? Right? I mean, it's not limited to just the Middle East, right? We're having a thing with India right now.
And if I remember correctly, most of the television anchors at the time, Peter Jennings being on ABC, most of the television anchors, including Peter Jennings, Dan Rather, Brian Williams on NBC. No, Brian Williams wasn't there. It was, anyway, I was watching the US coverage. I was watching the Canadian coverage. And I don't recall any of the anchors or any of the lead storytellers, if you will, even beginning to suspect who did it. They said, we have no knowledge. We don't know who did this. They didn't want to start pointing the finger of blame because you know what happens. And then once the news came out, who did it, it was like, uh-oh, every Muslim in North America, any woman who wore a hijab suddenly took it off.
Yeah. But
because they were afraid. And I understand why.
Yeah. But on the other side of the ledger too, right? Like, I remember there was a period that the buzz about it seems to have stopped, but there was a period in the United States where when there was a mass shooting or there was something, it was like you just go on Twitter and you like hear people going, oh, please don't be a black man. Oh, please don't be a Muslim. Oh, please don't be just like our communities just had, please just, people were like feeling terrible for what happened. They were playing like, just please let it not be revealed that the shooter comes from our community. Because
now I have to wear that, and I had nothing to do with it. Yeah,
right. I can't no more. But along with that, so for those of us from that community, and for those of us who have people that we love from those communities, right? There's fear for us, and then we think, oh my God, if it's this, my friends are going to be so targeted. Oh my, right? And then you had this whole other section that was like, just bomb the fuckers. Bomb them to smithereens.
But who do we bomb, though, was the first thing.
Right.
Like, who do we bomb?
But like right away, it's like, we got to get revenge. We got to, like a bomb, we got to teach them a lesson that you can't do that again. We got to make an example.
Who was them, though?
But right away, whoever them was, this is what they deserved, right? So you got those, you've got that, and you've got the same
visceral emotional reaction.
Right. But you've got the same thing going on here, right? You've got people like horrified at what happened to innocent Israeli civilians, and equally horrified that you've got some Palestinians now who had nothing to do with it, and for a lot of them, again, let me remind you, do not like Hamas.
They just want to live in peace, man.
And all of a sudden, there's no electricity, no water, no gas, no food.
You're starving out 2 million people because you feel like it. Because the actions of a few, you have to you paint millions with the same brush by the actions of a few.
No, it's
bad.
I assume the Israeli strategy part of that is to get the Palestinians to turn against Hamas. So when they come in with the about 360,000 soldiers that they have amassed at the border, along with tanks and other weapons, preparing for the incursion, that people will go like, they're over there. We want to eat.
You just want to live, man. Like you're trying to tell me the person working in a falafel shop serving shawarma every day really wants to be a part of this? They're just trying to get by like the rest of us, man.
Yeah. So it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Can we go
uh,
domestically?
oh,
I have a
not just yet. Not just yet.
okay.
It seems that when Secretary Blinken arrived, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu showed him some graphic videos and photos um, of what
Mhm.
Israel calls atrocities. And I'm going to give a little bit of a trigger warning here for people.
Yeah, I
Appearing
can't talk
distraught.
about it.
Yeah. Appearing distraught, the Secretary of State described the horrors he says he saw with his own eyes. Babies riddled with bullets, soldiers
Mhm.
beheaded, young people burned alive in their cars or in their hideaway rooms, and more. He said, I could go on. It's simply depravity in the worst imaginable way. Worst imaginable way. The southern part of the strip has been hit particularly hard, so much so that they're running out of room for burials. There's no space in cemeteries, and graves are being dug randomly on your houses on donated land. There's about 400,000 people who are displaced with effectively nowhere to go in Gaza. Israel says that it's targeting Hamas strongholds, but at least 1,500 Palestinians, including some 400 children, have been killed and whole neighborhoods have been flattened. Israel says that they're trying to take out the tunnels underground. That's just
Yeah.
justification for that. Hamas,
And be damned who gets in the way.
yeah. In Israel, Hamas militants rampaged and killed and destroyed. At least 1,200 Israelis have been killed in the past 5 days, first by those attacks and then by Hamas rocket fire. And as we mentioned, there's about 150 hostages that are captive somewhere in Gaza.
Mm.
Nobody knows yet. I don't know if anybody's made any contact yet to let them know or start negotiating yet.
You know, it's difficult to think that 3 years ago this past March, the world came together. We all came together in a common cause to help one another to get through the first pandemic in over a century, to help one another and make sure we got through this collectively. Everyone came together. A few months later, that all fell apart, and look at where we are now.
Yeah. Almost like that effort
It's for
as
naught.
the pendulum swing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah.
We all pulled together for so long that now people just like, I just mine. I don't know, and it just seems weird that all of this stuff is all exploding at the same time. As we mentioned, there's Israeli anger directed at the government for failing to anticipate the attack. The Israeli Army Chief, Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, acknowledged this, stating the Israeli Army is responsible for the security of the state and its citizens. And on Saturday morning near Gaza, we did not meet this. We will learn and investigate, but now it is the time for war. Gaza will not look the same. Again, I'm not there. I don't know. It's just
all bad, and it's innocents that are going to suffer. People who have nothing to do with this are going to suffer the most.
Yeah.
You know, the other day it was you had the official leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, on TV saying Canada must conduct an investigation into how Hamas breached Israeli security. I've also seen Pierre Poilievre come on television and say, Canada has no business in the affairs of other nations.
Yep.
We don't get involved in that. So which is it, Pierre?
That's the one I don't think about foreign policy. I was looking for that clip the other day.
I saw it and then I lost it. I wanted to bring it up to do an A/B comparison, but it's like, what in the bloody hell is he? No, we're not investigating that. It's not our country.
Yep.
It's not our security. He just wants to try and turn everything he can, every little bad thing that happens on earth into Trudeau bad, me good. Trudeau did this, I will fix it. That's all it is for him.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who will fall for it because they don't have time to be properly informed.
Right. But this is him again.
And all they get are sound bites and clips.
Yep. This is him again pandering and campaigning on the strategy. Canada should launch an investigation to with what, how, who, under what authority? Just
You know, when you
Seriously.
see those guys screaming in the face of the prime minister, screaming QAnon, batshit crazy things, I want to pull them aside and said, "What are you doing? Look, I get that you're upset, but if you're going to be upset, at least back it up with actual facts. Don't just scream ridiculous things in the face of the prime minister." Would I scream in the face of Pierre Poilievre? Yeah, I probably would. Except the thing is, I'd be fully armed with facts and his lies that I can prove that he lied.
Mm,
There's the difference.
yeah, yeah.
Somebody yelling and screaming at Trudeau, "You're a disgrace to this nation. You're a traitor. You're a dictator. You're the..." None of that is true.
Mhm.
Easily disproved.
Yeah. Now, speaking of lies, maybe, you know that thing I keep on saying about why lie or embellish or anything when the truth is horrible enough and it will do?
Hmm.
American officials are facing a few questions about some claims after President Joe Biden falsely said he had personally seen confirmed images of beheaded children. Apparently,
Okay, so he did not see them.
yes, because that was going around, even though he had not. National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby says the president was referring to news reports, dismissing the concerns. Um, um, yeah, stuff like that doesn't help, especially
Does
since
not help at all.
especially since there are um, efforts to put out false news specifically that looks very real, right? They do the headings and whatnot, and it's only like you have to look for a couple of things, then you noticed, oh, well, wait a minute, there's no way you could possibly know that now. That's okay. This has to be a fake one, but a lot of them look real, and so yeah, if this is not an issue for freelancing.
No.
If you say something happened, it's because it's documented somewhere. You don't crisis communications number 101 in this type of thing, like, a plane crash, this type of thing going on. It's,
Hmm.
$3 billion suddenly goes missing. You don't say something like, "Oh no, the money's not missing." Like this, we know where the money is. Like this, we just need to do an accounting thing. And then somebody goes, "Well, where's the money then?" And then you go, because that's the next obvious question. So you don't say you know where the money is if you don't actually know where the money is, right? So
Yeah.
this type of thing, I mean, the horrors that are
Oh,
being
yeah.
seen like this, and to say, "I personally saw pictures of Diet," when you didn't.
See, I heard him say that.
I personally saw people going through the recycling bins during election time, stealing voter ID cards so that they could vote twice. Never happened. Remember that
Did you?
MP that said that in the House and then had to apologize
Hmm.
to make a case? It's like, don't lie. We don't know. This is what we do know. We are working very, 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 very hard. As soon as we know something and we can tell you, we will be there. We have a tent right there or an office right there. Stay there. When we have something, we will send you some warnings. We will communicate with you. We will tell you what we know when we know it. This is what we do know for sure
It,
now.
it's the lies
That's
that,
it.
that do the most damage, right?
Right. Because they ruin your credibility later on when you make a claim
Hmm.
of other atrocities. It's just
Don't do that.
don't. Do not embellish. Do not embellish and do not lie when the truth will do. And here the truth will do.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, the Israeli army was able to take a handful of journalists, including some from the CBC, to the site of the rave, where many had come to celebrate music and life. And I mean, this is just so heartbreakingly ironic because for about 1 or 2 years back in my younger days, I enjoyed rave culture, and it literally is a total lovin',
Hmm.
total lovin'. "Hey, how are you? Oh my god, I love your hair. I love what you're wearing. Oh my god, you're so interesting. Tell me everything about..." I mean, it's just,
Hmm.
it's a lovin'.
Yeah, I've been to
It's a
raves. I
total
haven't been to
lovin'.
one in a long time, but I
So
have,
to have something like this happen at a place People just want love and music and happiness
hmm
and wanting to be
I was
all
the only guy at the rave drinking a beer.
in the same nice bubble of love and comfort and good music and good times.
Plur. Plur. Peace, love, unity, respect.
Right.
Plur. I spoke to a friend of mine who goes to a lot of raves. I haven't talked to her in a while now. And I said, she was telling me about events that she'd attended recently and some of the things that had happened. And I'm like, what happened to Plur? She said, oh, that disappeared a long time ago. I'm like, well, that's heartbreaking because that was the whole idea behind it when, for my generation,
Right.
that was the whole idea behind a rave. Plur. Peace, love, unity, respect. Respect each other's space, respect each other's culture, respect each other's faith. Because I'd been to raves where it was the United Nations.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because everybody was welcome as long as you show respect and respect yourself, respect everybody around you, respect each other's space, respect each other's privacy. Just be respectful. It's not difficult to do.
I've been to a rave, things that you never knew happened once. Like there was the rainbow Muslim, well, not Muslim, I say rainbow Arab community, because there's Catholic and Muslim, but the rainbow Arab community, gay community, had an event. It was a rave style music, but with all Middle Eastern influenced sounds layered on top of the beats. What a great night!
Mm-hmm.
Like music you never usually get to dance to anyway.
Well,
right?
You mentioned
Fantastic.
that, and do you remember the? So you know how the reformer Christian evangelical anti-trans folks across the country did the Million Van March, and I don't know, maybe 20,000 people showed up across the country, if that many. There were more counter protesters at every march, and those folks were using the Muslim community as a cudgel.
Yep.
And I said, they will throw you under the bus the first second they have.
Yep.
The first second, and they've already started to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And there were members of the Muslim community who are rainbow who came out and said, these people do not have your interest in mind. They will use you, abuse you, and throw you away. They've done it before. They'll do it again. Do not fall victim to this. Not to mention the fact that, hi, we're here, we're queer, and we're not going anywhere either. There is
it's not
a
like
lot.
We're just going to let you.
Well, and they seem to think, well, no, you're Muslim, you're not gay. Yeah, guess what? Gay is across every spectrum, every color, every creed, every religious belief there is. Believers, non-believers, practicers, non-practicers. It's a natural thing. And people say, well, that's unnatural because well, tell that to the animal kingdom.
Yeah. Remember,
there's gay giraffes, dolphins, gorillas, monkeys. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And remember that TikTok clip we showed of that young Arab man. He says, I left the Arab world because
I couldn't be who I am there. Yeah. Yeah. And he said, don't fall to this. Don't succumb to this. They will trample all over you the first second they have.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, I can guarantee you, they'll use the same footage of young Arab children stomping on rainbow flags to use against them to say, see, these people are hateful. You know damn well they'll do that. You know they'll do it.
Yep.
Because that's who they are.
Yep.
I could go on a long rant on this.
Oh, I know. It seems that there's now maybe war on three fronts as Israeli forces have launched missile attacks on airports in the cities of Damascus and Aleppo in Syria, putting them out of service. I'm guessing the strategic military aspect there is because Russia and Iran are very, very, very much in Syria, and that allows another way to get to Israel also by attacking the airports. I'm guessing that will make it a little harder for them to do that. And it seems that the $6 billion that the United States was unfreezing that was, I think, in a South Korea bank account that got transferred to Qatar and was supposed to be used for humanitarian things. Well, it seems that there's an agreement between Washington and Qatar to refreeze that account. So also that story going all around that Iran. Hezbollah has been able to do this because Iran gave them some of that $6 billion that Biden just gave to Iran. First of all, it wasn't money he gave to Iran. It was Iran oil money that was frozen. So it's money that actually legitimately belongs to Iran. That's why it can't be seized by another country. That's why it's in an account frozen that was being unfrozen in exchange for prisoners in a prisoner swap.
Mm.
The government of Iran hadn't accessed a cent of that yet. And now the account is frozen again. So everybody that's saying, Biden did this, if only Biden hadn't given the money never got there. And it's not going to now. Okay, facts first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 2 Canadian evacuation flights, so have taken off from Israel yesterday, carrying hundreds away from the war zone. They're a lot of them, I think they're going to Athens, and then you can transfer out to other places from there. It seems that 2 Canadian military planes left Tel Aviv, bound for Athens, Greece. From their passengers board civilian flights back to Canada. Officials say Canadian citizens and permanent residents, dual nationals, and their families are eligible for the flights. That roughly 1,600 people have contacted Canada's embassy looking for help, and that flights will keep running at least twice a day so long as there's demand. Lisa Strattlebauer, who is Canada's ambassador to Israel, says, quote, "And my greatest hope is that a week from now, people will think this is totally unnecessary and they shouldn't have left. That would be the ideal situation." And oddly enough, that's the same attitude that we were supposed to have for the pandemic. If after all was said and done, our position was, wow, that wasn't all that bad. The government sure really overreacted. That meant the government did its job well.
Yeah.
Saved people from as many horrors that we felt it wouldn't be that bad. But ironically, when people take the impression that, well, gee, that wasn't that bad, you oppressed our freedom, rather than, wow, phew, dodged a bullet. It's all the choice about it's all about the choice about either choosing to be grateful or resentful. Right? Resentful that you had to be inconvenienced, or grateful that all it took was that amount of inconvenience to make sure that many, 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 many more of us didn't die. It's just, which wolf do you feed? Right?
Yeah.
It's just, like, it takes all kinds to make a world, and a lot of us, and we're not all wired the same way. So, I mean, that's why we're getting this. But let's put it this way. You have the choice when you're telling the story of your own life, whether or not you're the person to whom things happen, or whether or not you're the person who made things happen. Are you the hero in your narrative, or are you the victim when you tell your story?
Which wolf do you feed?
Be the hero. So you're casting your story. You can't cast yourself as the hero. Just saying, life is hard enough, and pain is unavoidable, but the suffering is optional. It's in Gaza. Unfortunately, there still is no plan to be able to get people out, even though there's an expressed desire to do so. But how? Borders are closed. So I'm guessing that's another thing nations will be probably trying to negotiate from Israel to try and find a way to do that. And Israel will need to do that if it wants to keep international community on side. I think the Weibo of the fifth column describes that all wars are popular for the first 30 days. And then real life starts to happen. Yep. And there's the quote from the Prime Minister I was looking for the other day. The Prime Minister said, "We know that Israel has the right to defend itself in accordance with international law, and Hamas's decision to take innocent people hostage is a further example of their barbarity, of the barbarity of their atrocities." And the government of Canada pledged an initial $10 million in humanitarian assistance to address what it calls urgent needs in Israel, and the West Bank, and Gaza. So there, that's about the update for the moment. Once again, listened to the half-hour newscast from yesterday. The first 21 minutes was all war, and Doug Ford once again was not mentioned at all. He was mentioned on At Issue, though, fortunately.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yep. They had 3 segments, and he was the 3rd segment on At Issue. But that was the first. The At Issue was the first major treatment I've seen of him over the past few days since this thing has popped up. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't anything else going on with him, because there's a land deal in Hamilton or something.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that's all about.
That's a bit of an issue. To be totally honest, I haven't had a chance to look it over either, because the last few days.
We got to get you a rubber mat for your keyboard because wow, can I ever hear that through the mic?
Hear that?
Yeah, I've got a 5 mil yoga mat, 5 mil yoga mat piece of material I'll give you so that you can put it under your keyboard. So when you tap, the mic won't pick it up nearly as much.
All right.
It's because it's really loud.
Okay.
Sorry. That's me being an audio guy. That's all. That's all it is. You're speaking of land here. I just wanted to put this little footnote in for those of you who are not aware. So you know how they're telling people to abandon Gaza and they cannot go to Egypt. And here's something you may not know. Not you, sir, but for the listeners and the viewers. Egypt doesn't allow Palestinians to cross into Egypt. No Muslim countries want them. When Israel returned Sinai to Egypt, Egypt refused to take back Gaza because Gazans are trouble wherever they are. Egypt's border with Gaza is 8.7 miles long, so that's about 17 kilometers, and 20 feet high, so 5 meters high. It's made of stone and concrete. It also extends with steel reinforcements 60 feet below the surface, so about 35 meters below the surface. This is to prevent underground tunnels, trafficking, and weapons smuggling. In 2020, Egypt updated its wall to include electronic sensors. So basically, if you're in Gaza, you're screwed. It's just all bad.
Jeez. I did not
I
know
just thought
that.
I'd add that in. No, I know. I didn't think anybody would, so I thought I'd add it in. I didn't know if you did or not, but it's like I just got that like moments ago.
Nope.
It's like that's a border wall, my friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you're in Gaza and you need to go to Egypt, it ain't happening. They're not accepting you. You cannot cross. You can't cross.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
They definitely, like you say, Gaza is the world's largest open air prison, effectively. You know.
So, with regard to Doug Ford and Hamilton, I'm going to go to the source that has been doing most excellent work here, the Narwhal, on this story. So there's an investigation that was published on October 5th that says Ontario favored unnamed third parties over experts when forcing Hamilton to expand, say, court documents. It's by Fatima Syed and Emma McIntosh. Says the Ontario Public Servants warned the Doug Ford government it would face unknown environmental consequences stemming from a controversial plan ordering the city of Hamilton to sprawl onto farmland, internal documents show. The government disclosed the records as part of a lawsuit launched in December 2022 by an environmental advocacy group. I told you, environmental advocacy groups and First Nations groups, do your thing, seeking to overturn the Ontario directive On November 4th, 2022, the same day it opened, Greenbelt Lands for Development, the Ontario government unilaterally extended Ontario's urban boundary by 2,200 hectares of land, a bit less than the size of the city of Orillia. About 90%
Wow.
of the expansion would clear the way for urban development on prime agricultural land.
Shocker.
The records show unnamed parties requested dozens of the changes Ontario made to Hamilton's growth plan, and more than a third of the 77 changes had no listed purpose or rationale. Quote, these documents show that we live in a province run by third parties, and Mr. X's Sandy Shaw, a Hamilton area NDP MPP, said in an interview referring to an unnamed development lobbyist who had direct access to ministry officials about the Greenbelt, according to an Integrity Commission report. This is just Greenbelt 2.0, Shaw said. Once again, the decision wasn't based on evidence, consultation, expert advice, and it was made behind closed doors. The government, of course, has refused to identify the third parties, raising more concerns about the lack of transparency in the provincial growth and development process. They learned nothing.
No, of course not.
You just went through this like days ago. And not wanting to share the information. How did that work out for you, buddy? Really? You want to go back to the well again? Really?
Well, you know.
It's like, I'm like, you know that Bugs Bunny? He not too bright, ain't he? Boy, the revelations from the documents are coming to light in the wake of Ford's stunning admission he made a, skippy air quotes, mistake. No, you didn't make a mistake, buddy. It's not a mistake. By opening
No,
up
it was
protected
intentional.
by opening up protected areas of the Greenbelt, including some in Hamilton and other land around Toronto, to new real estate development. Ford announced he was reversing the decision to open the Greenbelt last month following two scathing watchdog reports, which found the process was greatly influenced by developers and potential political staffers. And since the RCP has announced that it has opened a criminal investigation into his government with regard to that. So when the article says the fallout has triggered a political crisis for Ford, yeah, just a wee bit. Internal ministry assessments of Hamilton's boundary expansion obtained by the Narwhal through the court case show parallels with that flawed process, revealing the government's decisions was made despite concerns raised by the province's own experts and in deference to third-party requests. Some of the lands implicated in the Hamilton boundary expansion fall within the Greenbelt, but it's unclear what their fate will be. Quote, this all seems very, very underhanded, said Mel Switzer, president of the Hamilton Wentworth Federation of Agriculture. Both with the Greenbelt and the urban boundary expansion, the government didn't listen to the city. They didn't listen to their own public servants. They went behind our backs and went after some of the best farmland in Ontario. If we lose that, where's the food going to come from to feed all the people the Ford government wants to live in Hamilton? I want to house them. How they feed each other. Well, folks, that'll be for next election. I'll make some new friends of folks and folks of friends who I can make some deals to make sure they get fed. All right?
My good buddy Galen has a superstore just down the street. He'll build a new superstore for you, where you can also get your health care.
Oh, gee, shucks,
For
folks.
a price.
Oh,
Have I showed you my latest cheesecake recipe?
this guy, I tell you. It goes on here. I'm going to skip a couple of paragraphs here. The Narwhal emailed a list of questions about the documents to new Housing Minister Paul Calandra's office, including whether environmental, infrastructure, and financial analyses of Hamilton's urban boundary expansion were done before the decision was made to expand the urban boundary. Yes, this deserves another pour. The Narwhal,
Damn right.
the Narwhal also asked Calandra's office for a list of the third parties who requested changes to the boundary. The email was not acknowledged, and the Narwhal did not receive any response before publication. Of course. Because despite the fact they work for us, we're not allowed to know anything that they're doing on our time, on our dime, and in our name. That's not how it's supposed to work. Just saying. Despite repeated questions from opposition leaders, Calandra has said the government has no plans to reconsider the Hamilton decision because, again, that worked for you so well when you had no plans to reconsider the Greenbelt decision. Quote, an expansion of the urban boundaries in and of itself does not necessarily mean that housing will be built on that expansion, he told the legislature in late September. The city will determine when homes or if homes will be built in that expanded area. The city determines if the land will be serviced and when it will be serviced. So that is the reality of the expanded urban boundary. And of course, you're pushing for strong mayors now in more places. And I'm guessing if they're strong mayors because, well, let's face it, Doug Ford is not so much a premier as a wannabe mayor of all of Ontario.
Yeah.
Wants to control all the city councils basically as much as he can.
Well, and let's take a look 1 second there on that when it
Mhm.
comes to public transit. Okay, you know how he's threatening to withhold money from Ottawa because of the LRT fiasco. I actually agree with him,
Mhm.
right? Until they get that straightened out. But what about the Eglinton Crosstown? Why hasn't that been? That's only been going on for what, 20 years? I think. Is he not holding up money for that?
Yep. Now,
I mean,
yeah. Now, remember when we had we were talking about Merritt Stiles, and she was talking about Andrea Horvath because she's now the mayor of Hamilton, and says, well, she has her own relationship with little shade there. Mayor
yeah.
Andrea Horvath said she is not surprised that these documents show Hamilton did not need any changes to its urban boundary to meet its housing needs. She said the city has already surpassed its housing target for this year of 4,700 units by approving 12,000. Surpassed its housing target for this year of 4,700 units by approving 12,300 units in its already built up area. Quote, we don't need the province to give us new growth borders. We need them to give us new funding, Horvath said in an emailed statement to the Narwhal, listing the various issues facing the city, including affordable housing and mental health crises. So, yeah. And here's the thing with Doug Ford. He did that little shindig for his friends where somebody recorded it on video as he was running for the leadership of the party saying that he was going to open up those greenbelt lands. And then the public let him know that, no, you are not. We will not have it. And they let him know in such a way that he did, I keep on saying, a Cirque du Soleil worthy tumbling pass. I said, okay. Stuck the landing and go, I will never touch it. And because Doug is for the people, and Doug is a municipal councilor who gives people his telephone number, and he'll come here and he'll do things for you. Make sure that it gets done. Because, well, heck, there's no way that Doug Ford could be up to anything else but getting it done. Just like when he was a city councilor, right? Just getting in there and making sure that, it's like, I'm going to push him. I'm going to make it happen. I'll leave no stone unturned. I'll be on the phone 24/7. All the number of things he says, right? I'm going to do that to get homes for you because we need those homes, right? All throughout this whole thing, every time somebody's trying to go, yeah, I know I did that, but we need those homes, right? It just seems that, yeah, but we need those homes justified everything. And then we know that Doug has a penchant for abuser talk that we've mentioned, and we know that when it comes to abuse, abusers usually don't stop at just one. And then we have Doug Ford, who we find out 4 or 5 years after he told us that he would not touch the Greenbelt, that he never actually did drop that idea. He had been lying to us the entire time, which seems to have pissed off his former housing minister, Steve Clark, because he's apparently, the word on the tweet is, he said, dude, you made me go around for the last 4 years saying that the Greenbelt won't be touched, and now you're like just flipping the script on me, and I'm the one that's going to be taking all the income. You're like, what the man? Why are you doing me like that? Because
I think it was Clark who dropped the dime on him.
that would be that
Wouldn't
would be the
surprise me.
first place my head would turn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without question. Right.
I mean, the most likely suspect, but I mean, it could be somebody else. But I mean, he wasn't happy about it, and he has lawyered up.
Well, and maybe maybe Clark's smart enough to go, okay, I won't. But if I slide these papers across my desk and somebody else happens to read them and they drop the dime, it wasn't me who did it.
Well, I mean, if the man actually does have a 40-year career,
Mm-hmm.
there's at some point where he
He knows how to
realized,
play.
I mean, and he didn't want to look at it. That's the reason he had no look at it, at what Amato was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
he already knew it was bad news then. I don't know. Seems to me that when the Auditor General says, I'm recommending this to the OPP, and the OPP hands it to the RCP, and the RCP says that they're looking into it, and people are still mad and they want his resignation, I guess, and he says he's not going to do it, and then eventually he does. It seems at some point he probably realized, I would hope that with a 40-year career, you know when the writing's on the wall and when you need to lawyer up and you need to be the first one to say something so you get the sweetest deal.
Mm-hmm.
First person who talks gets the sweetest deal. Next one gets the next sweetest. Next one, next one, next one. The sweetness goes down and down on the deals as people talk. So if you're last to talk, sometimes you get no deal at all because they don't need you.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes a race at some point. And when it becomes a race and when people start flipping and lawyering up, people get paranoid. And when people get paranoid, they start making stupid decisions and saying stupid things. Like, for example, oh my God, there's so much going on the Greenbelt thing. Let's like just really work double hard to hide the Hamilton stuff rather than let's make the Hamilton stuff come out at the same time as Greenbelt stuff because we're already getting hit. We might as well get it all at once. This is not a smart decision. This is a decision that's being made in panic. Trying to keep the lid on this one when they know there's no way it's going to happen. Because when you put all this stuff together, kids, you create a situation where we as Canadians, we like to trust our politicians. But when our politicians do something like this, which again, I keep on reminding you, might go down as the most criminally corrupt in terms of finances, government in the history of all of Canada, and by a metric shit ton.
Mm-hmm.
Way worse than Delta McGuinty and the gas plants. Way worse.
By far.
And people,
and that was bad.
That was horrible. And people were rightfully upset. And he knew when he left that it was time to go.
Oh, yeah.
And he tried to saddle Kathleen Wynne Kim Campbell style. And fortunately, she was able to make something out of it. And again, Kathleen Wynne, and that's the thing. I just thought about it now when I've said it. Kim Campbell was the first woman, so they saddled her with a sinking party. Kathleen Wynne wasn't necessarily the first woman, but was the first openly out, and they tried to saddle her with the sinking party. Why is it that they give us a milestone with the sinking party? Seriously,
because they look. It's real simple. Oh, I'm on my way out. I'll just I'll put the gay woman in charge, and then the people who are going. See, the gay people failed miserably.
Yes, we can't do that again.
Continue to say that. Yeah, that's all that is. Tell me I'm wrong.
Jeez,
you can't because I'm right.
Right.
And I don't like being right on everything, by the way, especially when it comes to stuff like that.
Right.
I hate being right on those things, and yet I'm seldom ever wrong.
So when you add the fact that he said he wasn't going to touch it, and then you learn he's the type of person that when he has an idea in his head, he never really does lets it go. He just keeps on finding a different way. That's why I keep on saying that that spa, it's a casino that will have a spa in it. Because we just have been told about the casino, because that's an idea of his, and I'm sure he hasn't let that go either. If he hasn't let go of Greenbelt, he hasn't let go of the casino. That's for sure. Because if there's
he wanted
real estate and casinos, what better way to launder money? Seriously.
Well, he wanted to turn the Metro Toronto Convention Center into a gigantic casino.
Right.
Remember?
Right. So I'm sure he hasn't abandoned that idea yet either. So it's time now.
Well, you got to be able to get those folks in Toronto who can't afford to take a train or a bus to Niagara Falls to go to that casino or to go to Casino Rama because it's too far to travel. So we got to give them a casino right here in downtown Toronto so they can take the subway.
We have one in Gananoque.
Yeah, I know, but that's too far for him. There's one in Brockville too. Did you know that?
There's one. Okay, maybe I'm talking about the one in Brockville. Sorry, not Gananoque.
There's one in There's one in Gan. It's right on the 401.
Like, seriously.
I know. I only found out one of them is it Brockville or is it Smiths Falls? One of them, one of those small towns along that part of Eastern Ontario it's either on the Trans-Canada or the 401. So it's either Brockville or Smiths Falls. I can't remember which one now. Somebody correct me, please. Has a casino. Oh, there's one in Pickering too. Geez, like every time you turn around, there's a new casino popping up. Yeah, Woodbine is also. They have
Slots of the
slots
race,
at Woodbine.
So
I think they've expanded at Woodbine and put in tables as well for roulette and poker and craps.
So it's now time when it comes to Doug.
Woodbine doesn't have a subway though, Dan. That's the thing.
Yes. So when it comes to Doug Ford, it is now time. It's almost duty to look at every single development style deal. So the highways, the exchanges, other land areas, anything real estate development, whatnot, to look at all of those deals to see if there's a similar pattern. Yes. And then after you're done with that, it's time to go through any other deal that he signed of any other kind to see if there's similar dishonesty. It's going to be a different method or a different way forward to get there, as it was for the land deals, because there'll be different industries. But is it just his real estate stuff, his development stuff that's corrupt and everything else is fine? Or is this a situation if he's corrupt in the Greenbelt real estate deal, he's probably corrupt in other real estate deals? And oh, look, yes, he is corrupt in other real estate deals. So if he's corrupt in real estate, is he corrupt in, for example, bringing electric vehicle or electric battery manufacturing plants to Ontario, for example? We trusted. He lied. He lied big time. So now it would be negligent, almost criminally negligent, if we did not verify everything he has put his hands on. Everything. Start with the real estate stuff, because that's where the smoke's coming from, and then expand and look at other deals. Because if this guy is as corrupt as I think he is, every single deal to which he's put his name has something in it.
Of course it does. He's not a very smart man.
He needs to resign.
I want to see the perp walk.
He needs to resign, and his caucus needs to throw him overboard. And his caucus doesn't seem to be ready to do that either. So if their caucus, Ontario Progressive Conservative Caucus, if any of you happen to be listening, or your staffers or whatnot, there is a small window that you have.
And it's closing.
If you want any chance to remain in the government after the next election with a new leader, if he does not willingly go on his own within the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe, and you guys don't start a movement to have a vote to depose him as leader of your party, you can kiss the next election goodbye and all of your seats. The people are not having this one. And you might think that you've got like 3 years and we'll wait it out. No. Canadians are very slow to anger. But when we do, you get a Brian Mulroney going from 2 majorities to 2 seats. You get the emergence of the ADQ in Quebec and its quick expiration. It came out of nowhere, became official opposition, had a chance at government, and now it doesn't even exist. When we get mad, you're done. It takes us a while. We're very patient. You let our elders die, and now you tried to slice off $25 billion of our public wealth to give it to your friends who put some money in a box when your daughter got married. Like, come on, dude.
How much did he cut from healthcare? $2 billion?
Yeah.
Or was that from education? I don't know. We cut one of them by a few billion. I know we cut healthcare by a lot. I can't remember. I think it was $2 billion.
I guess, and we all see you sitting on $22 billion or however more while you're losing $4 billion here and $4 billion here and not returning anything to us.
It's a rounding
We're not
error.
getting any benefit from all of your efficiencies in doing all these things for the people, allegedly. We're not getting better healthcare. We're not getting better education. We're not getting better service. You still haven't learned French. You even made an attempt. You've just given up on that. You tried to screw us over on the Greenbelt. You're screwing us over in Hamilton. Lord knows where else you're screwing us over. You fucked us over on the UBI. You didn't know Ottawa existed during the convoy. You're pretty bad at your job, dude. I mean, you really suck at your job. I mean, even before the Greenbelt stuff, you sucked at your job pretty hard. I mean, it's been a parade of incompetence from day one. Party. Throw Papa from the train. Throw Ford overboard. He's got to go. He's just got to go. He doesn't have the stuff. Ontario doesn't need a mayor. Sorry. He's like this small-time 2-bit, very, very corrupt that was just walked in, bumbled in to like a province of 16 million. He does not know. He doesn't have a clue.
No, he doesn't.
He just doesn't have a clue. This man was made for municipality, but he should have stayed where he was able to handle it. And even there, it was barely. All right. So enough with this guy. But I am hoping that as whatever's happening in Israel gets somewhat protracted, because I assume it will be protracted, because I'm assuming that if they will be doing a ground invasion and going from place to place and not trying to have anything happen to those 150 hostages, and then there'll probably be a countering insurrection. At the same time, that's where things start getting drawn out. Just as it was the case with Russia. Like for the first few days, it was all Russia all the time, and then it started. I mean, we still talk about it very, very regularly, but it's not always necessarily the number one news story or dominating the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes of every newscast. And if this becomes that, maybe that will leave room for more Doug Ford stuff, because again, it's not going away and there's going to be much more stuff. There are 93 NDAs, people. That's a lot of secrets. That's a whole lot of secrets. And that's just 93 NDAs on the Greenbelt. Who knows if there are NDAs with this Hamilton one too. It's going to be the gift that keeps on giving for quite a while. Another interesting thing that's happening here is it seems that Canada's oil production capacity is really going to be jumping over the next year or two. It says that it's expected to jump by about 500,000 barrels per day by the end of next year, which would be an all-time high, and it's bigger than a lot of countries in the world. A man named Kevin Byrne, who's an analyst. I wasn't able to say two ands in a row there. Who is an analyst with S&P Global Commodity Insights, says that there will be about a 10% total increase in our capacity, and the majority will come from the oil sands. It's not that there are new projects, but companies will be more efficient at pumping out more oil with their existing operations. And while the production growth will be big, it'll probably be short-lived. He's describing it a little bit as the really large last hurrah before we see a materially slowed down market around 2025, 2026. But over the next 12 months, Canada is probably going to be leading the world in terms of growing oil production, even more than the United States. The main reason of this for this is 2 years of high oil prices that preceded it. Added some investment in being able to get more out of what it is that we currently have. Tristan Goodman, who's the head of the Explorers and Producers Association of Canada, he represents small and medium-sized companies in the oil patch, says that the oil patch is a major economic driver, but also a large polluter. And it represents about 1/4 of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions. So the federal government plans to introduce the emissions cap, the one that has Daniel Smith losing her mind, saying that he's forcing a production cap, but it's not a production cap, it's an emissions cap. So again, that whole thing of carbon intensity. If you can reduce your intensity by the barrel, then you can produce more barrels, right?
Mhm.
And not pass the cap. So if you want to increase your production, then reduce your emissions and we will have no problem. So, but apparently she says that can't be done or can't be done in time or whatever it is. But just Daniel Smith has a wonderful can't do attitude when it comes to Canada. So, just, well, we'll just leave it there. So yeah. And with that, which is really interesting, is there was some news that came out the other day with regard to the TMX pipeline. It seems that it is on, it's about to be, I guess, launched or inaugurated. I don't know what the word would be, or come online, I guess, would be what it is. So, it's a project that has attracted a lot of controversy because we're wondering why the government is pursuing it while you're trying to meet carbon goals, right? But we do have a situation in which there's going to be demand for oil for a while yet, and we have the infrastructure, and I guess in terms of business sense, you want to maximize the return your infrastructure is going to give you, so that even though we might be reaching peak oil in a couple of years, plastics are not going away, and people in that industry will probably find new and creative uses that are for oil that don't involve burning it. So
Mhm.
there will still be an interest. There will still be an industry that's not going to be a problem, and the issue of getting the oil to Tidewater still remains an issue. Right? It's a big thing. So it seems that, according to the Financial Post, it was. But for some reason, I'm having trouble finding the article.
Well, that happens sometimes.
It says that it's going to be coming online, I think, somewhere around March of next year. Having some delays. And, of course, COVID and stuff like that stopped the production, and construction, delayed construction, and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But we are getting to a situation now where the Conservative government, who's now complaining about gas plants. That was PP's thing. I think there was like 18 applications for new gas plants or something like that. None of them have been approved. But we're producing at record levels. We will be for the next 2 years with that increase. And starting March next year, that pipeline is going to be carrying, I'm guessing it's bitumen, to the West Coast. And the Prime Minister, the Liberal Prime Minister of Canada, the Green carbon tax imposing Liberal Prime Minister of Canada, will have done in 8 years, would have been sooner without COVID, that which the Conservative government failed to get 1 inch of done in 10. but they're the pro-oil party. They're the pro-Alberta party.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who will actually have gotten the pipeline done, beginning to end, bought it from the company, finished the negotiations appropriately with the Indigenous communities in a way that satisfied the constitutional according to the Supreme Court. Didn't call the judges activists, didn't try to do a campaign, didn't try to raise millions of dollars out of vilifying judges, just said, okay, this is what we need to do, went and did it, bought the pipeline, is getting it built, made a deal with the environmental community or promised that whatever proceeds or benefits that would come from it would go into fighting climate change. And there might be an opportunity for partial ownership with Indigenous communities. He will have done that. I can't wait to hear PP saying, after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, we finally have a pipeline. Isn't that wonderful, Alberta?
After 20 years of Pierre Poilievre doing absolutely nothing but suckling at the teat of the Canadian taxpayer, it's time we kick him to the curb.
Right? Right?
Just
He's such a loser, this guy. I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it. This guy just he annoys me like you would not believe. I will try to look for that article from that's really funny because I put it on my on the Twitter feed, but for some reason I guess a lot of stuff must have happened and it's gone all the way down the list somewhere.
yeah,
All right.
that happens.
Do you have anything, Mr. Grizzly?
I do. Just bear with me for a second while I bring it up here. I did have something I loaded in earlier, and where did it go? Oh yes, there was a little diagram I had. Let's see if I can just find it. I did save it. Where did it go? Oh, I hate it when that happens. You save something.
Well, that's the thing. Same
then,
here.
oh, there it is. Yeah, I have too many things saved is the problem.
Exactly.
I thought this was a cute little diagram because it was like, this basically sums up how Reagan discussed and brought up the idea of the trickle-down effect, Reaganomics, when he cut the corporate taxes from 90% down to, did he cut them to 50 or I can't remember what he cut it. I think he went 70 and then 50 and then lower.
Okay.
For corporate taxes. So if your earnings as a corporation are above 10 million, you pay 90% taxes. You were paying up to 90% taxes on anything over 10 million.
Right.
And that was only on the margin. So the way that they could, so companies, and this was under Eisenhower that this was brought in, and this is what built the interstate system. This is what built much of America, okay, post World War II. And the way the tax structure worked was if over $10 million as a corporation, your income was over 10 million. Anything over 10 million was taxed at 90%. Anything below 10 million was taxed at a much considerably lower rate. So what companies did back then, instead of having to pay 90% tax, they could do things like hire more employees, increase their wages, create benefits, upgrade their facilities, provide daycare, or, well, not daycare, but, provide incentive programs, pension plans. All of that reduced their marginal tax rate from 90% down to, say, 40%. So what they did, it forced them to put money back into the company and their employees and their people, and it built great things, pension plans, people, it built the middle class. It gave the boomers the lives that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that all got swept under the rug and axed by Ronald Reagan in 1980, the moment he took office, and he came up with the trickle-down effect. And this is what the trickle-down effect is. Wealth gets poured into a giant glass, and it's supposed to overflow and trickle down into the other champagne glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But instead it gets siphoned off into an offshore account, and we get none of it.
Yep.
Now I know that's very sort of out of left field from what we've been talking about, but you asked me if I had something, and that was what I had.
It's okay. I'm glad you had that. And I finally found the article. So it's in the
Excellent.
Financial Post. It's called MEG Energy expects Trans Mountain Pipeline to be fully operational by early 2024. MEG Energy, an oil shipper on Canada's Trans Mountain expansion project, said on Monday the pipeline is expected to start filling with oil in late 2023 and be fully operational early next year. The Canadian government-owned Trans Mountain Pipeline, which transports crude from Alberta oil sands to the Pacific coast, will boost capacity to 890,000 barrels per day from 300,000 barrels per day once the expansion is complete. So it's nearly tripling. All right? Nearly tripling of
Well,
capacity. That's a lot. The $21.4 billion project is over budget and behind schedule, but its completion will be a major boost for Canadian oil producers by opening up a significant export route to markets in Asia. Oil sands producer MEG has secured 20,000 barrels per day on the pipeline. We're being told line fill potentially at the end of 2023 and fully operational in the first quarter. MEG Energy CEO Derek Evans told Reuters in an interview. So it seems that first they have to completely fill the pipeline, and then it becomes operational. And somehow, I'm guessing from what because if you're talking about having to do a line fill first, I'm guessing that's what's required, but this is not my domain of expertise, so I don't know.
no.
And then so far, Trans Mountain itself has said it only expects the expansion to be mechanically completed in the third quarter of 2023. So there you go. That's going to be the day that it becomes fully operational is going to be an interesting media day in Canada.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah.
I wonder,
I'm looking forward to it.
this is going to be the one day they won't want to blame Trudeau.
You think?
Ah,
I
ah.
I sent you a message earlier. I don't know if you saw it in the chat there.
Yes, you have some audio from Nate from the breakdown to telephone poll about abortion. All right, let's bring it up.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll bring it up. I gotta let everybody know. Trigger warning. This this may trigger some people. So it's about abortion, and this is a telephone poll that is taking place in the province of Alberta right now. Have a listen to this.
You may be aware a so-called live birth abortion occurs when a baby is born alive, resulting from a botched or failed abortion and left to die. Last year, there were 26 live abortions in Alberta and 149 in all of Canada, according to the Canadian Institute for Health Information. What do you think? Should doctors be required to provide the same standard of medical care for newborns who survive an abortion that they would for any other newborn of the same gestational age? This would in no way regulate or restrict abortion, but it would save a newborn child's life. Press 1 if you strongly support providing the same standard of medical care for newborns who survive an abortion as for any other newborn of the same gestational age. Press 2 if you somewhat support providing the same standard of medical care for newborns who survive an abortion as for any other newborn of the same gestational age. Press 3 if you neither support nor oppose providing the same standard of medical care for newborns who survive an abortion as for any other newborn of the same gestational age. Press 4 if you somewhat oppose providing the same standard of medical care for newborns who survive an abortion as for any other newborn of the same gestational age. Press 5 if you strongly oppose providing the same standard of medical care for newborns who survive an abortion as for any other newborn of the same gestational age.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that's my reaction.
Why? Is this a thing? Survived an abortion? Is it? I don't know.
Well, here, look at this. This is something. This is also in the thread. Look at this. I'll put this on the screen. It's supposed to share. There it is. Took a second. I'll read this. Recently declassified federal cabinet documents show Canada could have been a very different place for women seeking abortions and the doctors who provide them if then Prime Minister Brian Mulroney had bent to the wishes of some cabinet heavyweights. The minutes of cabinet meetings sealed for 20 years and obtained by the Canadian press under the Access to Information Act open a window on the tensions between ministers who wanted abortion outlawed, indeed punishable by up to 10 years in prison for those who performed the procedure, and those who wanted a far greater latitude on women's right to choose. In an ironic twist, it was the Senate in 1991, an institution maligned in recent weeks to the point of deafening calls for its demise, that killed the best compromise Parliament could come up with, resulting in the legal vacuum most Canadians have by now accepted. Legal vacuum. See, that wording is kind of strange to me because it's not a legal vacuum. There's no laws around it. It's a medical procedure. It's a medical procedure, like, heart transplant.
Its legal status.
It's a medical procedure. That's the legal status.
That's the legal status.
And that's the way it should remain. The minute you form a law around it, the codification thereof, like the protecting pregnant women, which we already have laws for that. The minute you form a law around that, that's when it becomes, well, now we're just going to outlaw it altogether. That's the slope they want to get on, so they can outlaw it altogether. And then you know what happens. Whether you're for or against it, whether you're pro-choice or you're vehemently against it, if you're pro-life, you do need to understand that it's still going to happen. It's still going to happen. So it could be a backroom, back alley abortion, in which case the woman's life is put at risk, as is everybody involved.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Outlawing abortion doesn't stop abortions from happening.
Just like outlawing drugs doesn't stop drug use.
Or murder.
Well, we have the death penalty if you kill somebody. Oh, well, if that was a legitimate deterrent, why do people still get killed? Why does murder still happen? Why do you have mass shootings every day in the United States of America?
Yeah, but then you get the people that go the other way. Well, then why bother have laws? Because the law didn't stop it completely. No, right? But it's the other side of the stupidity, right? This thing that you said would work didn't stomp it out 100%. What's the point? That carbon tax didn't stop tornadoes from happening.
And that's not what it's designed for. The carbon regulatory fee is designed to put money aside so that companies can green and develop green technology and develop technology that does not detrimentally affect the environment that we have to live in, because there's no planet B.
Yep.
That money is designed to go into companies that are developing green technology, renewable energy, sources that are very cost effective, i.e. solar, wind, hydro, et cetera, and in many cases nuclear, because nuclear power is very clean and it's much safer today than it's ever been, and they keep advancing it. That carbon regulatory fee, it's not a tax, it's a regulatory fee, and the onus is for you to green yourself as a company. And in doing so, that those fees get set aside and they get poured back into companies that can make things better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I hear you. So it's wow. That's the reason why I asked, is that a thing? Like I said, I see people go, no, it's not. It's I'm just wondering, is this like a different thing than the post-birth abortion thing, which we know is bullshit because that's called infanticide. It's already legal. Yeah. But like the sort of like this claim that there's been 146 attempts at an abortion where the fetus was not aborted successfully and then was born, or was like, or they had like when she says same gestational period, like, is the kid born, or there was a first attempt at abortion and it didn't work, so the person wants to go again, and then they say, no, you can't get to do it twice. I don't get what she claims is happening in that ad, or if it's just another take on post-birth abortion.
Let me put this on the screen. This photo was from the Conservative Party convention, CPC 18, not last August, because it was when Scheer was in power.
Yeah.
Not 10 years ago. So this is what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, overwhelmingly to reopen the abortion issue in Parliament. Anti-choice Scheer is on record stating he will allow a private member's bill on the issue. And then if you look over here at the tweet, Conservatives are determined to ban abortion and will use lies, innuendo, and misinformation and complex polls to generate the answer they want. Poilievre is vetting all CPC MPs to ensure they'll vote to ban abortions. They tried under Mulroney. He would have no part in it. One of these days, people are going to pay attention and discover that there's a global invasion underway. The weird shit you see happening is intended to make you angry and divisive. Reminder, united we stand, divided we fall. They're all counting on it. Vote for democracy always. I'm not sure quite what that means, but sure.
Well, okay, I got Kid Saucy here. She seems to be more in tune with this thing that they're trying to say the baby was still alive when it was aborted. That would be infanticide.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally a lie being peddled like late-term abortion or the abort babies after they are born. It's psychotic.
Yeah.
She's claiming that there are 126 such cases.
Please show me those cases. I'd like to see each one
I
of them.
think those cases are going to be similar to those thousands of letters that Scott Moe and Blaine Higgs received.
Well, that information is available, apparently, according to that phone poll.
Unbelievable. Yes.
And yet, believable.
Well, yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't say unbelievable. Just
look, these reformers will lie directly to your face after they said something 5 minutes earlier. They'll turn around and lie about what they just said directly to your face because they're counting on you to be ignorant. They're willful ignorance. They're counting on stupidity and willful ignorance. And they're not being held to task for the lies they tell. And they do it every damn day.
Gee, that one made me feel a sharp stabbing pain in my eye. It's terrible. Mr. Grizzly, at the big in the chat, I sent you 2 links to what the Prime Minister and PP had to say to the Jewish community in solidarity. I have that. Wanted to show it this week, but we didn't have everything that we needed on the first day. So
I've got the one from Skippy. Is that the one?
Yeah, I think I sent both.
Speech.
Yeah,
let's see.
Yeah, I have PM and PP. I sent you.
Yeah, I've got them both.
You can start with whichever one you want to. The order doesn't really matter here.
Okay, just give me a sec till I get them prepped here.
While you're doing that, I noticed that to start the show, Kit the Daily Beaver mentioned something about Friday the 13th, starring PP as Chucky. It's like, no, the Daily Beaver, Andrew Scheer as Chucky.
Yes.
It's in the cheeks.
With the dimples.
Yeah. Pierre's more like
how much of the speech do you want me to air? Because
Skippy's
7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Yeah, so is the PM's. They got
the whole thing.
Yep.
6 minutes.
Yeah, because I want people to hear when I was mentioning that, that how it sounds statement-like at first. And PP does this thing when he wants to look like he cares, where he he looks like he's a little sad, and so you'll see him doing it like people are going and he's going like yeah.
Okay, well let's let me air
and
this.
Then
we'll start with him.
And then you'll see around the 5-minute mark where body language starts to shift, where he starts to sort of move to campaign, and you'll see what I'm saying about the pandering a bit.
Okay, so we'll watch both speeches in their entirety, and let's have a listen, and try not to stab your eyeballs out at this whiny voice of his.
Shalom. It is with a combination of heartbreak that I join with all of you here today. Heartbreak for the innocent mothers, babies, grandparents, partygoers, peace activists who suddenly and inexplicably lost their lives at the hands of an unprecedented terrorist attack, and outrage at the attackers. And so, in starting my remarks tonight, let me be explicitly clear. Hamas is not a militant organization. It is not an activist organization. It is surely not a government. It is a sadistic, demonic, genocidal, terrorist death cult, and it must be defeated and destroyed. The incredible carnage that this terrorist death cult has unleashed in the last 72 hours would be bad enough were it not for the apparent pleasure and sadistic pride with which it was carried out. And so I say to those who might not perhaps have strong opinions about the Middle East, what kind of organization would carry out such hideous violence against such obviously innocent people and do it in the most cruel and odious manner and then willingly publicize it for all the world to see? This is evil in its purest form, and that evil must be defeated. Hamas does not speak for the Palestinian people, it does not speak for Muslims, and it surely does not speak for Canadians. And that is why I unreservedly condemn any and all who took part in the disgusting celebrations that we have seen on our streets the last several days. It is now for Canada to stand with Israelis as they carry out their right and obligation to defend themselves, to provide any support we can, and intelligence, and in any other way, to ensure there is high quality consular services for every Canadian citizen who may be stranded or in need of any assistance whatsoever. And I know that members of Parliament for all parties will be united in that purpose. Prime Minister, MPP MacLeod, MP Aria, Mr. Mayor, I know we will all be working together to frantically bring assistance to any of our Jewish brothers and sisters or people of any other faith who may for any reason be in distress in the Middle East at this time. And I encourage everyone here to donate generously to the beautiful charities who are helping to come to the rescue, charities like Magan David Adam and countless others. Let us all be generous with them in this time. And Canada must call for an investigation into how this attack was so well coordinated. It is clear to me that the regime in Iran has been the greatest actor of evil and terrorism on the world stage, and we must work day and night to defeat that regime. And that includes criminalizing the IRGC so that they can never use this as a safe operating ground in which to do their horrible work. I want to thank the rabbi for Psalm 23, one of my favorite. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me, O Lord. It is hard, almost impossible, to have any sense of hope in a time like this. But I do have hope. not just for the people in this room and for the Jewish people across our country, but for the Jewish state of Israel. Because Yisrael Hai. The Jewish people are the only people who live as the same people on the same land, worshiping the same faith in the same language as 3,000 years ago. There have been monsters of all shapes and sizes and types who have attempted to destroy the Jewish people, but they have never succeeded. The Israeli people are eternal in the defense of their homeland, of their faith, and their culture. One of my greatest memories was taking Shabbat with a rabbi from London, Ontario, who had made Aliyah and gone to Israel, and his 7 kids sitting there singing the same beautiful songs that would have been sung on that same land 3 millennia earlier. That is a story of survival. And so I pledge the continuing friendship of His Majesty's loyal opposition, of the Parliament of Canada, indeed of all Canadians. We stand with you in these horrific times. Our bond of friendship is strong, and our faith in the future is complete. So may you keep that faith and stand strong and hold true as you always have. Yisrael Hai. Thank you.
All right, now let's just play the Prime Minister back to back, and then we'll comment.
Just a second. And here we go. Apologies, my mistake. I'll start it over. One sec.
There was no sound.
There was a little bit of there was an audio glitch on my end. I'm just going to restart. 1 second. My apologies.
First, let me begin by being absolutely clear. Canada, unequivocally and in the strongest possible terms, condemns these terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas. We stand with Israel and reaffirm our support for Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law. Le Canada condamne sans équivoque les attaques
unequivocally condemns the terrorist attacks committed by Hamas. We are in solidarity with Israel, and we support the right of Israel to defend itself according to international law.
The attacks this weekend were brutal and horrific. We heard stories of people who were there at the music festival for peace when gunmen started shooting. We saw images of parents shielding their children to protect them from rockets. Women and kids have been forced out of their homes and kidnapped. Images and the imagining what it must have been. Middle of the night, as doors were kicked in, people ripped from their beds. It's unimaginable. We know that even Holocaust survivors were kidnapped. The indiscriminate killing of civilians, the sexual violence, the violence against women, children, and elderly people, these acts are sickening and completely unimaginable. On demande la libération
We ask
immédiate
for the immediate freedom of the hostages and that they be treated according to international law. Violence toward the civilian population is never acceptable.
Glorification of death and violence has no place anywhere, including, especially, here in Canada. So let me be very clear. Hamas terrorists aren't a resistance. They're not freedom. They are terrorists. And no one in Canada should be supporting them, much less celebrating them. I want to thank everyone coming out across the country to show their support. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Toronto to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. We talked about all the uncertainty in the world right now. We talked about the importance of being there for one another. We talked about the examples of Jewish Canadians embodying the concept of tikkun olam, commitment to make the world a better place, healing the world. We talked about our hopes for a better year, a better future. Well, what happened this weekend during a Jewish holiday on Shabbat was the opposite of hope. It was dark, abhorrent, and heinous. Nearly every Jewish Canadian has friends or family in Israel. Les députés, les membres de notre gouvernement et de nos équipes qui sont de
MPs, members
confession
of our
juive.
government and of our teams who are Jewish, just like so many of you to this evening have friends and family in Israel.
Les liens au sein de cette communauté sont justement
The relations within this community is exactly what makes it so strong and incredible.
interconnectedness of this community is what makes it so strong and incredible, but it is also what makes it so difficult right now. You're feeling so close yet so far away. You're talking to relatives, you're scrolling social media, you want to be able to help directly. My friends, you are not alone. Canadians stand with the Jewish community, Canadians stand with Israel, and we stand ready to support the Israeli people. There is a Hebrew proverb that says that the community is Israel's rampart. That's true in so many ways. I saw a tweet earlier from CIJA that showed volunteers in Tel Aviv packaging food, clothing, and aid for the victims. Ici, au pays, les communautés juives se mobilisent.
Here in Canada, Jewish communities are mobilizing to collect funds to help Israelis. We see examples of mutual aid here and around the
The
world.
world is in a very dark place right now. Standing up, united for our values is more important than ever. We want to win against terrorists, dictators, and bullies. Upholding the rule of law must continue to be our rampart. Protecting civilian life must continue to be our rampart. And as you know very well, being there for one another will always be our strongest rampart against hatred. We stand with you, my friends, tonight, tomorrow, and every day. Merci, mes chers amis.
Thank you, dear friends.
All right, Mr.
Wow.
Grizzly, I'm going to let you give thoughts and impressions before I go in. Because I want to hear what you say. I know what I think.
Sorry, I was working that whole time. I didn't have a chance to really fully pay attention. My apologies. I'm trying to deal with an issue here with my employer. So if you could please dive in, sir, I will listen, and I'll have to watch it back later to give you some input next week.
Okay. So, Kits noticed when the Prime Minister was speaking, noticed how his eyes seemed rather angry. And yes, his eyes did seem angry, and you could tell in the first few words there was some shaking in his voice. There's some genuine emotion there. You can tell he was trying to contain. The Prime Minister gets angry in a way that I get angry, which is kind of interesting. When I get angry, my
voice slows down and my words get way more pointed. And when I'm looking at you, you have my undivided attention. I was kind of noticing that, and as somebody mentioned, the message stays calm, however. That is what we need in these times. And you have to remember the Prime Minister, again, as I mentioned yesterday, these were his first public comments with his own voice. He went to the community and he made them. The Prime Minister, of course, has to address the nation and the world when it's the first time, as well as the community. So he spoke in English and French. Sometimes that reduces the impact of a message because you get it in English and then you're waiting, especially if you don't understand the other language, and you're waiting for the next one. And even if you're listening on TV, because there's the overdub, and it's not necessarily the same emotion on the overdub that the Prime Minister is mentioning. You will notice that in PP's comments, he did not do that. He didn't speak a word of French.
Of course not.
Because he wasn't speaking to the nation. While he was there, he wasn't also speaking to and for the nation, as the Prime Minister did. He was speaking only to the community. He wasn't burdened by having to speak for the nation, or on behalf of the nation, or to the nation. And I'm hoping that when people were watching it, they noticed how, he started with the, looks. But around, at one point, those got less than there, and all of a sudden standing a little more upright, and a couple of smiles.
Campaign.
And a little more, because not hard, not campaigning hard.
Mm-hmm.
But the Prime Minister's tone was even all the way throughout.
But nevertheless, still campaigning.
For those who are wondering what he was saying when he was saying, I'm probably not going to pronounce it correctly, Yisrael Chai. That is a quote from the time when the Jews of Bergen-Belsen concentration camp were liberated on April 20th, 1945. They sang the Hatikva, and at the end of the anthem, British Army chaplain Rabbi Leslie Hardman cried out, Am Yisrael Chai, which is, in English, the best translation they have for it is, the people of Israel live.
Mm.
He mentioned it twice during his speech. Mm-hmm. The times where he started campaigning, when he was really campaigning hard as can be in this situation, when he was talking about the people of Israel not having changed, living the same way, same faith, the same values for 3,000 years on the same land. And that got him a huge applause line the first time, and I guess he liked it so much that he tried it, recycling it already in the speech with another talk, a passage a few minutes later about 3 millennia instead of 3,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's but like this. At the end of the speeches, you have two different voice recordings, but if you watch the CPAC, the applause for PP was louder and longer at the end.
Well, I'm going to also guess that he had his people there.
Possibly.
Right, vetted the crowd.
Possibly. No whooping and stuff like that, but possible that it could have been an applause for him and applause for all the speakers total if he was the last speaker of the night. That mixed in with that, who knows? But he didn't tank it. Now, in his talk, though, you do notice how he mentioned talk about high-quality consular services. that people depend on, and how everybody in the government is going to be making sure that that takes place. So that was a little dig,
Mm-hmm.
subtle, but a little dig. Also pronouncing it, not necessarily saying I will be leading this, but framing it in such a way that, I'm sure that the prime minister and I will, which kind of makes it look
Yes.
like he's leading it in a way, even though, he's not actually saying that. And I mean, you can, that one is more like, what lenses are you watching him with rose colored lenses? Oh yeah, and he's just being normal. And if are you listening with dark colored lenses, there might be something behind that. There may not be something behind that. That might have just been a simple sentence either. I'm predisposed to not liking him, so I may have read a little too much into that one, I will admit. He also called for, so he wasn't saying that Canada should investigate, but should join the calls for an investigation. So that's fine. I have no problem with that. But he mentioned criminalizing the IRGC. And as we've mentioned several times on this show already, the Conservatives had many opportunities to do that when Pierre was in government, and that's sometime in there when he was the Minister of Housing, allegedly. And they refused to do it. And I think I remember reading from the Hansard Liberals demanding that the Conservatives list the entire IRGC as a terrorist entity, which is kind of hard to do because how would you enforce it, right? And they didn't do it. And then I remember a while ago, I think it was when the Iranians shot the
Yes.
plane out of the sky, where all of a sudden the Conservatives were demanding that the Liberals do that which they refused to do when it was demanded of them when they were in government. And the Liberals and all our security people like Reg Alcock and all of them people trying to explain to everyone that the entire RGC is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for which Prime Minister Trudeau targeted the top brass of it, because there were sanctions, was probably had something to do with that, given that because people are enlisted and they serve. Doesn't mean that, and then I don't think they have any choice either, if I remember correctly, in terms of serving when they're in Iran. So you can't use the blanket. You have to go for the bigwigs, the central command. And they were all saying that that was probably the most intelligent approach if you wanted to any type of enforcement on it. So it's a little, again, one of those things in the moment that sounds good, but when you realize that he's been in Parliament for 20 years and he was a part of a government for 10 years, of whom that was asked, the thing that he's demanding right now that the other government do was asked, and they took a pass on it. And he knows why he took a pass on it. He was government. He was around the table. But that old Harpernesia just
Funny how that works.
Just doesn't remember any of that conversation, what the reasons why it was complicated when he was in government. Doesn't remember. Just poof, gone, out of his mind. Because he's the leader of His Majesty's...
How convenient.
His Majesty's loyal opposition.
The only loyalty he knows is to those who give him money.
The word loyal is doing some heavy lifting in that sentence, PP.
You think?
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah. So, I don't know, man. It could be, again, it could be just because I'm predisposed to not liking the guy. And maybe it was an overall good speech. I just... especially when I look at the get saucy loyal, huh? Quote Joe Biden.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
loyal,
I'm
huh?
trying to bring as objective a lens as I can. I'm trying not to just look for the faults just because it's pee-pee.
Hmm.
That's like my starting premise is that there's nothing authentic about the man. So
Zero.
I have a hard time as seeing that as an authentic expression of emotion. Now, he's not a monster. I'm sure he generally does feel terrible that terrible things happen to
One would
people.
have to assume, right? I mean, it can't be.
But he also sees the opportunity. That was a lot of
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
you could tell that the prime minister was really getting angry like this, but it wasn't. It just wasn't that. It wasn't.
Everything's
I like
posturing
the
with Skippy.
yeah. That's why I call him Poser Pierre.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
It's like okay, it's almost like Zoolander, sympathy face. Oh, modeling is such hard work. I need a Kit Kat. Danger.
The essence of water is wetness, and the essence of wetness is water.
And the source of terrorism is terrorists.
Yes.
I'm so I am, like I said, kids, I'm putting my biases up front. Could very well be that this was literally his best attempt at actual genuine statesmanship. I mean, he did show up in the same room as the prime minister at a unity type event, which is something I never expected he would actually do. So I mean, got to give him a little credit. So
Yes.
maybe he did read the room. Maybe because it's just, but yeah, Kitsasi Polyev may feel bad, but he's out of his element. Yeah. Yeah. But it's the authenticity problem, Tabby G. That's the thing that I have here. Yeah, you're searching the litter box for gold, assuming there's poop in there is only sensible.
I got to jump off for a few minutes to take care of a problem here with my job. So I'll be back as soon as I can.
All right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, Kit PNC Bio. Yes. I know. You have to understand with Pierre, I want to be honest about what a danger I think the man is. And I want to be honest about how I feel he is incompetent and not the right guy for this. I don't want to demonize the guy, and I don't want him to be my punching bag, if you can understand what I'm saying. So I don't want to go in the room and go, oh God, he's just a total shit gibbon. Look at him like pandering and slaving, slavishly trying to lick some boots and, hoping that he'll be able to turn some people away from the liberal parties and I know that this is politics, and behind even the prime minister, the tone that he took and everything, and the things he said and the things he chose not to say. Like for example, the prime minister didn't make much mention of Palestine at all, whereas Skippy kind of talked about it by saying, people of the Jewish faith and people of any other faith who are in the Middle East and need some help, which is kind of a way to lump in innocent Palestinians without mentioning them remotely anywhere by name. These are calculated decisions, right? So that part I get. And then within that, as the saying goes, if you can fake sincerity, then you got it made. And if you can have genuine sincerity, then that's better. The prime minister had a duty to be statesmanlike, in addition, and Pierre was unburdened by that. But yeah, I don't want to make it seem that my impression is that he's only a snake and that he's incapable of doing the statesman thing when the time comes. I don't want to be the type of podcast that tries to paint the opponent as completely and totally irredeemable, unless they actually are. But as we hear often, like as I have no, as people keep on saying, like in a debate, name something you compliment that you love about your opponent or something, and it's always something about, well, he seems to be a real family man and really loves his children or something, like this, or raised his children well or something like that. If I start with the starting premise that he just genuinely loves his wife and loves his children, and maybe is a shit gibbon of an opportunist, but not necessarily uncaring. Then there's a possibility that was a genuine expression of emotion on his part. It's just it's hard to get past the fact that I know he's almost always putting something on. And it's been 20 years of almost putting something on. If there is a real Pierre Padiev, that's not this person who's always putting something on and trying to jab, or I've not seen him often enough to know that that's in him. Let me put it that way, which is what makes my point of view about anything he would say looking through not the darkest lens possible, but definitely shady glasses. All right. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show? Because I think we've talked their ears off long enough today.
Yeah, I think we've got a show, sir, and I've got stuff I've got to get taken care of here on my end. Again, let everybody remind everybody that I'll be in Toronto on Saturday. So if anybody wants to reach out, hit me up via Twitter DM. I'll be staying downtown, so downtown near Union Station in that area. Also, next Saturday, we will be having ourselves a pubcast, and I do understand we're going to have a few additional guests for that weekend. So it'll still be at the Lieutenant's Pump, but we're going to move the location in the pub to another area because we'll need a little bit more space and a couple more cameras and maybe some more mics or something. But yeah, I'm going to get it all fixed up for next week. So just a heads up to everybody that next Saturday is the monthly pubcast.
Have yourself a monthly little pubcast.
I guess that works. Yeah. I hadn't really thought about it.
Mademoiselle Fox is trying to tell me something, and I have no idea what it is.
Well, hang on just a second. I'll give her a set of headphones so she can hear. Yeah, you can put your headphones on so you can. You got to lean into that mic if you want to speak.
Oh, yes, sir.
There are rules.
I can't be on the mic. And
yes,
on
she
the
can.
Screen.
There you go. See, there you go.
Well, I just hi.
You got to speak up though.
The stash is awesome.
Thanks.
I love it, and I'm really excited for you to do your play. I know I have a lot of political things to say, but you guys have covered it all. So I thought I would give some relationship tips because that's why you're all here, right? Like you're like,
oh yeah, I'm definitely here for the relationship tips. The
well,
Eager Beaver relationship advice show. Lay it on us.
Okay, if you don't like a certain chore, just be super bad at it, and then you'll get.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What she's getting at is she's not fond of cleaning dishes or the kitchen. So she nauseous it up horribly bad. First she comes in and literally burns my kitchen down. And then I have to come and clean it up because she's so bad at it. She makes a bigger mess cleaning than she does cooking. So I have to take care of all of that.
Oh,
God, that's
effective.
That's like my favorite.
If you don't like cleaning the bathroom, sorry, Douglas, you go.
Go ahead.
No, just if you don't like cleaning the bathroom, do a super bad job at it.
Yep.
Or the kitchen.
This is not good relationship advice, okay?
But it reminds you.
I think it's great advice.
Do you remember there used to be a comic strip named Sally Forth or something like that?
Mm-hmm,
yes,
mm-hmm.
And this is the best life hack I got. If you have guests coming over and it's dusty, it takes light to see dust. if you don't have time to get rid of the dust, get rid of the light.
This is why we get along.
Mood
Anyway,
lighting.
right? It's like, no, nothing to see here. No, I am the worst at doing dishes. And
Oh yeah, she pre-washes them. She's like, I did the dishes. I'm like, no, you didn't. I pre-washed them. There's no pre-washing. You either do them or you don't. She just rinses them underwater and sets them aside. I'm like, that's not washing.
I'm like, it's good enough.
No, it is not. I don't have a dishwasher to put them in. I am the dishwasher.
I know
you
what
can't
it's
rinse
like.
them and set them aside and say that's fine. That is how bacteria develops. That is how you get botulism.
I know what that's like. Before we moved in here, things were terrible when the dishwasher broke down.
Yeah.
Why have we got no
I just
spoons? Weaponized
I just proved
incompetence.
how it worked. I'm like, you know what? No, they're good.
Yeah, it's because I have ADHD and OCD. I have to have things clean, neat, and organized. And when the ADHD can kick in, it's like I can look at it and go, no, can't deal with it. And other times it's like hyper focused, and I will clean everything top to bottom, and it will take me hours, but I don't even notice the time going by because I get it done.
Yep.
Well, I completely respect the ADHD and compassion for that. But I also think that it's a great relationship.
No, it is not. It is not. That's it. Okay, you're
okay.
I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you
Just
off.
fuck it up.
No.
Hey, kids,
No.
don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
It's
To let you know, Dan,
Don't do that.
I'll be in town tomorrow.
Just say you.
We're
really
arriving
don't
in
like
town
it,
around
and I'll fold
11.
laundry instead.
Yeah. We're getting into town around 11 a.m. tomorrow, but we have a couple of things we have to do, and I have an appointment from between 1 and 2. So basically, after 2 o'clock, I'm free.
Yep.
I'm supposed to meet up with a few different people, but yeah, by all means, reach out and I'll see what I can do. Maybe we can meet for a coffee or something.
Yep.
All righty.
Yep. And I get that. Like, trust me, it's like I get that. Me, it's bathrooms. I don't like them. I lived in a foster home with like 4 other boys, sometimes 5 other boys, and then 2 other adults. And because I was almost the youngest or second youngest, I was on bathroom duty for 10 years. That's the first thing. I think one of the first things I said with Alex when I moved in is, oh, by the way, it's like, I will vacuum the living daylights out of stuff. I will mop floors like this. I am never cleaning the bathroom. I've given at the office already. That one's yours. I'll do all the dishes you want, but I will not clean the bathroom. I'm done.
Understood.
10 years of cleaning
All right, let's
bathrooms
go.
for
I gotta
7
get out of
people. Ugh. All right. Kids.
I'm already 5 minutes late for a meeting that started 5 minutes ago.
Okay, then I'm going to speed through. Kits, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver podcast. You love listening to us. We love making it for you. Tell everybody about us. You sharing is caring. Pod page sponsored by the Ray Girl. Podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver. Lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. Make like Kit Lane and smash with all our buttons on our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. Like, share, subscribe. And with over 100,000 views now. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, babies. And if you like what we do and want to encourage us to do more, then please go to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. Make your contribution to our emergency hydration fund so that we come back Monday not speaking like this to you. We need some staff for the weekend, so help us out, kids. All right. Democracy is something that you do. Donate to the Red Cross, write those letters, let people know you demand better. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it'd be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Wish me all the broken legs, and Mr. Grizzly, words of wisdom, please.
Send in your used, dirty, chewed up, beaten down, broken up flip-flops to Pierre Poliev's office right here in Ottawa.
All right.
Just drop it in a box and send it along.
All right, Mr. Grizzly, please roll them credits. And yes, Speedy Beaver. I can be fast when I need to. When I need to.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver media podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
All right, and because all we do is give, if you want to send those flip-flops, remember it's Pierre Poilievre, House of Commons, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, K1A 0A6. And I'm going to have to call our old pal Jake to see if we can have a mustache off.
Yes.
All right, kids.
I'm going to leave you this.
Ooh.
We're the boys of the chorus. We hope you like our show. We know you're rooting for us, but now I have to go.